Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in Jesper of Ghost Iris. How are you doing today, Jesper?
I'm doing great. I'm going crazy in quarantine, but one day I can hopefully go outside. It would be nice.
I know, man. 13 months of this, I never thought in my life, I would never have guessed or predicted that this could happen. But I'm hopeful that you're well, the band is well, or your friends and family have made it through this as intact as possible. It has been a really tough year, not just our industry, but everybody.
We're all great, and I hope the same for you and yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Ghost Cult is a global organization and it's not just me and a few people in America. We started out actually as a zine in Europe. So that's kind of, we come from that area, and I've been following your career and the band's career for a long time, actually. So it's good you've been on my radar. Sick new album. I want to talk all about that with you. But of course, we get the pleasantries out of the way. What's kind of the state right now in Denmark?
Well, we just got news yesterday that our release party, if you can call it that, because it will be like for 42 people seated, and people cannot scream. So I'm gonna ask them on the day, can I scream? You know what I mean? Like as a stupid joke. Yeah. But we got word yesterday that it will be happening. And by the month after, in the start of June, they're gonna allow 100 people at the concerts instead of the 42 that we're gonna have.
I know it's not ideal. The last show that I was at was in a tiny club, packed with people, right against my whole body the whole night. I remember coming out of there with my own sweaty body, other people's sweat on me, beer got splashed on me. The band was right in my face yelling. That's how I love live music and heavy music especially. And it's going to be weird. You yell into a stick for a living. You have to yell at people with your, face and right on people, whether it's at a small club or a big festival, which you've done both. So, I imagine a little bit it's going to be, nervous or scary a little at first.
It will be. I mean, we already did last year in September. We were so fortunate that we got to do 3 shows with Ginger in Germany, seated shows as well. But one of them had like 900 people, but it was like a huge outdoor / arena kind of thing where it could sit like 10,000, but they allowed 900 in these weird beach basket chairs where they had their drinks on the side and all that jazz. That was great, super weird, but we're so fortunate and we enjoyed every moment of it. It was too bad it was only 3 shows. But it's funny you mentioned with the last show that you were at yourself. I still remember my last show as well, which was after the burial, Spirit Box, and some Make Them Suffer, I think it was, in Copenhagen, Denmark. And it was like exactly how you just explained that how you viewed it and how it felt and everything. It was, and then less than a week later, it was just bye-bye.
And we thought it was going to be 2 weeks. We were like, oh, it's only going to be a few weeks and then we'll be right back to normal. And there is no normal.
The curve, as they say.
The curve, right? The curve.
That's become a joke almost now.
A little bit, but on the plus side, look, like a lot of people have suffered, not just the music industry.
Sure.
Just I feel like because of what we do, we're going to come back from this last, which is okay, I guess. Yeah. We've made do. We got these, wonderful technologies where I could talk to you from across the world in person. I've only been to Denmark once and it was briefly, so I would have never got to meet you. This is great. And live streams are cool. They're not a replacement for shows, and I hope people don't think they are, but I think they're cool. And by the way, I would pay a lot of money to see you play with Ginger or Spirit Box here in North America or Europe, the rest of Europe. I would pay a lot of money for that. That would be a sick tour.
I thank you very much. That's very nice of you to say, but I would almost pay money as well for it to happen. That's how much I want it right now.
I hear you. We're gonna get it back. I do know that both Spirit Box and Ginger have new albums on the way, just like you. So what a good time, like if anything else, people have lost and suffered and struggled, but at least we have some great new music and some art. I'm fortunate. I feel really lucky that I have a lot of new music to review and listen to, and artists like yourself to talk to. This has been my personal oasis away from the rest of life and my work and things. So thank goodness and thank you and the band for persevering and making this record. Was this record written before the pandemic? But obviously you didn't know it was going to happen. Or did you write this during the year? Was that the plan?
It it was mostly written before, but a little bit after as well. And then we recorded in May last year. So, 2 months into that whole thing. So it wasn't. I mean, the writing wasn't affected that much by it, but I mean, the lyrics in my case, they got switched up a little bit in the end. A few of the songs because of this whole shitty experience we had and all that. But yeah, it wasn't affected much. But it was weird to come to the studio, and the guy in the studio, and rightfully so, he was like semi paranoid. His parents were they're very old and all that. So like, okay, guys, remember to he didn't want to say, but remember to wash your fingers and do all the sanitizer on all the stuff with the cloth and all that stuff. So, but other than that, it wasn't that different. We recorded our last 3 albums with the same guy, so it was just like being home. It was always nice.
That's good. It's good to have a comfort level with somebody, creatively, especially the producer is so important to the sound of a record.
For sure, especially for a vocalist, because not so much nowadays, but definitely in the beginning. Boy, I can attest to the fact that I was so nervous. I remember some of the first times in the vocal booth, I like almost had a blackout. You know what I mean? It's like memory wise, it was like being on stage for the first time. You felt like you did a good job, but you didn't really remember much of what you did. You know what I mean? You knew that you were there, but you didn't remember the small details. And I felt like that in the vocal booth. But now it's great. The guy is a joker, and so am I. So it's like we're fucking around all the time, and we're the same age as well. So perfect.
That's good. Relatable. It sounds like you were running on adrenaline. That's probably what it was. You were so pumped up.
Very much, yeah.
Nice.
I'm so glad that it's not like that anymore, because now I can actually enjoy it. It wasn't like that for a long time. It was only a little bit.
Well,
Right.
Obviously, it stayed with you, the memory. So that's really cool. And thank you for sharing. Not easy to talk about sometimes, but we're all human beings. It's, I think, especially for metal, and you can relate to this, you have a lot of really inspirational lyrics. I feel like lyrics are important to the band and to you. And for a long time, especially guys, especially the metal world, we're so tough. And we're, like, it's not okay to be soft or show weakness or say, I'm not doing well. We were all not doing well. The whole world was not doing well for the last year and change. So I think if anything, these are not things we normally talk about, empathy and sympathy and understanding and things like that. But I think all of us, after experiencing this, we have to have a little bit more of it for each other, at least. I know it sounds a little hippie-ish, and I don't mean to, but I think it's important.
I mean, I'm not good. I mean, the hippie movement. I mean, they had good things, but they also had bad things, because they had this ridiculous utopia idea, which is you can get near it, I think, but you can never get completely there. I believe that's just human nature. But yeah, being soft and all that. I consider it being like even more masculine, that you're actually not afraid of opening up. Because I just saw some crazy statistics today that in the U.S. Suicide is more prevalent with men. I already knew that, but I didn't know that it was 3.5 times higher than with females. And I think it's because there's a lot of pressure on males and all this, because they have to bottle up their emotions, and at the workplace and all, they take more risky jobs as well, and there's a lot of pressure on them. And in the end, they end up imploding, or exploding even in some cases.
Right.
So,
for sure.
Yeah, I just saw that there was. It's funny because I work in customer service, and we do like, couriers, shipping, and all that. And I just saw there was a shooting at a FedEx facility of all places, and it's quite interesting because we have a lot of problems with FedEx from our company. A lot of their packages turn up completely mangled and all that. But yeah, whatever, But that was definitely a person that exploded in the end. So who knows what that person went through before that? So.
It's funny that I get asked about mass shootings and politics more than anything else except music from all of our European and Scandinavian friends. They don't understand why we have so many mass shootings. We seem to have one every couple of days. We're having a terrible time in the country right now with police violence against people of color and Black men and things. So it's just a terrible, terrible time in the world. We're trying to come through it and be better people. You know, my heart goes out to anybody that's lost somebody under those circumstances. But, you know, nothing gets fixed in a day. Nothing
No,
gets solved. Even over a lot of beers, nothing has ever been solved
no,
in one
big time.
conversation. But I'm hopeful. I do believe in the goodness of people. I know this is again turning into something I wasn't planning, but I do believe that people want to be good and want to help humanity. And I had a really fun chat last year with Tom G. Warrior of Triptychon and Celtic Frost, and I said the same things, and he's like, "No, you're wrong. Humanity's
Oh, really?
lost. It was lost a long time ago." It kind of reminded me of my dad a little bit, put me in my place, but it was great. I love him, and it was an honor to talk to him. But I do believe in generally people want to be good, and I think a lot of it is mental illness, and we need to put the focus on helping people with their mental problems, at least here in America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree completely, and yeah. What is it with the U.S.? I don't know. It's the history is very complicated, I guess, and there's also so many more people than in Denmark, and Danish system is set up in a different way. Like, of course, there's shootings in Denmark, but we're also only 5.5 million, and in the U.S. you're 320 million. So of course, it's like exponential how much risk there is for this kind of thing happening. But I don't know what it is. It's really complicated. I listen to a lot of political podcasts, and it seems like everything is in east and west. Nobody can really agree on what it is. It's a lot of info all over the place, and especially how many people die by the end of the barrel of a gun in the U.S. Yearly compared to anywhere else in the world. I don't know. I have no idea what it is.
Doesn't make sense. And there are other places with plenty of guns and nobody's killing anybody. So I don't know what it is or what happens. When I was a little kid, there was a lot of violence where I was from in a pretty rough area. And then something happened for a few years and people would, instead of kill each other, they would rap or break dance or draw graffiti or play basketball. And if you lost in basketball or rapping or breakdancing or graffiti, that was it. You were shamed and you walked away and you didn't keep fighting and you didn't come back tomorrow with all your guys. You just like, all right, you won. Salute and move on with my life. And I wish it would go back to that like 40 years ago when I was little.
Yeah, but yeah, I remember that the whole. I'm guessing when was that, in the 80s, 90s or
Early
something?
80s, yeah. I'm old.
Early, yeah, it was like that for a time, and I think also nowadays I see. I mean, I think like the level of apathy in the world nowadays, especially with the newer generation, is like, I don't know. I'm not gonna say not gonna be a grumpy old guy and say it's the social media. It's definitely the social media, but I definitely think it has something to say. And this whole TikTok thing, like, what's that about? It's I think the younger people, I even see it in some of my younger cousins and nephews and nieces and all that, and they like, yeah, I mean, they're not depressed or anything, but they're also just like, don't really give a shit, which can be dangerous, very dangerous,
Right.
I think.
I like social media. I work as a music marketer and I work in corporate marketing also for social media. So it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, I see the value of it to help promote and unify people, but I think the experience of too much time on these screens and too much time on social media is really bad for your mind. And regular life is not like social media. And I have met a lot of people who will just, talk a lot of shit online because they feel insulated and safe and they're
Yeah,
keyboard warriors, dropping fire on people and talking a lot of shit that they would never do in person. If you had to come up to somebody and say some of these things in person, you get clapped, you would never say it. You would get smashed.
sure.
So, and I'm not a violent person at all. I abhor violence actually. So interesting stuff. I'll segue this into talking a little bit about the
Yeah, of
record.
course.
I love, so Comatose is the new record. It's coming out May 7th on Long Branch Record, a label I'm a big fan of for a long time. Fantastic label. They're doing a really good job supporting you. And again, I mentioned earlier lyrics, and I do feel like one of the things that I get from Ghost Iris is uplifted. Usually for heavy music, it's like, oh, I'm getting all my rage and expression out. But I love that you also still pay attention to these big moments, whether it's a chorus or just a verse or something where there's uplift, there's a hopefulness inside the heaviness. I don't know if that's by design, but it feels great to listen to.
Thank you.
obviously Paper Tiger, Cult, because, you know, of course, we're Ghost Cult. But
yeah, I thought about that. That's
you know,
very
yeah, I
funny.
was like, oh yes, Cult, and we are Ghost Cult. But I promise that we were not paid for this interview. We are doing this because we like this band and this label.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it's a very strong record, and in general, there's just a lot of really big moments, big hooks, and it's usually, even when it's the most raging, it's still got like a little nice melody and positivity, which again, I gotta say is a treat. I listen to a lot of metal. It's just like, you know, all one flavor.
Yeah, most of the time it isn't really aggressive, but I also, like you said, I personally, I also enjoy like really big moments and like huge soundscapes and all this, and that can just make you feel like, almost make you feel small in a way, that you're just this tiny little ant and you're kneeling before gods almost. You know, it's that's the power of music, and the sound waves and the combination of all those into one great thing. It can really, it can, I feel like it can almost make you or break you in a way. Because I have some music that I personally, I almost cannot even listen to it without like starting to cry almost. It's just like, just the sound of it. It's like, and every time I'm like, what the hell is it? What is it that does this? And other music is just like, yeah, uplifting and super positive. Yeah.
Right. And I run the whole spectrum personally as a music fan. What are some of those records for you, or artists for you that do that for you? Do you have some favorites?
There is this UK band that only did an EP and a full-length album, and that's all they did. I think they felt like they couldn't top the album or something, so they just called it quits and disbanded and did other things, or other bands, I believe. I'm not sure which bands they're in, but a band called like Elijah, The Elijah, they were called. Uh, just this very down tempo but super post metal thing with a lot of the symphonics in it, and it's just huge sounds. And then they have this guy who also screams, and he just sounds like, the music is so pretty, but he sounds so ugly. You know what I mean? His scream, it sounds first of all, from a technical standpoint, as a vocalist, sounds super unhealthy the way he does it, but it creates something for the music. But it sounds horrendous in a good way. Sounds like somebody dying or something. But and then they have another vocalist who plays guitar, who has buttery, smooth, clean, angelic vocals, you know, combined with this big symphonic soundscapes and all that. That band just does it for me every time. I actually rarely listen to it because it makes me kind of depressed. So it's I listen to it when I am myself depressed, and luckily well, I haven't been depressed much lately, I guess, because I haven't listened to it. So I guess that's a good thing. But yeah, that's that band.
I saw something recently that said actually people who listen to angry and depressed music are less angry and depressed after they listen to it.
Makes sense. It's like a cathartic experience where I guess you get it all out through that, and then you can go on with your life and go to customer service like I do.
Nice. Yeah, it can't be fun. I have worked in customer service. It's not the most fun. You do get to help people, and some people are just angry, and it's not your fault, and there's nothing you can do, and nothing you can say or do will help them. I've been on both sides of that, so you know, my heart goes out to you on a bad day, and I'm sure you help people as much as you can. What was the thing that made you want to yell into a stick at people?
Into a stick, a very
an electric stick,
a technical stick.
Yes.
It's quite funny. When I went to high school, I'm just gonna tell it like completely how it is, because that's how I remember it completely. I went there on the first day, and when you go to a new class, you know, you kind of scour and look at who can you talk to, and there was this guy called Asbjørn, which is very Nordic name. It's a cute guy, son of two priests, actually, a male and a female priest, and they him and I were talking about music, and he loved music himself, and I love music. I loved music at that point, and I still do, of course. And he listened mostly to like really soft rock, you know, stuff where the devil was not present, of course. But he had two friends who were on the second year of high school, two guys who played guitar and drums, and they played metal. And he had apparently noticed some of the bands that I mentioned to him, and he remembered that his two friends also talked about those bands all the time. And then he kind of did like he was like the matchmaker. He in recess and lunch, he told them to come talk to me, and they asked me, "Hey, do you wanna be in our band?" And I was like, "I don't play any music." "Oh, it's okay. You just have to scream." And I looked at them like, "Wait, what? You want me to? I can't do anything. I don't know anything about music." You can learn that. I still distinctly remember that. That's the guy Rasmus. He said it to me. "Yeah, but Jesper, you can learn that." And that sentence in of itself, I'm not kidding. It sounds so cliche, but that's actually what propelled me into doing and made me what I am and where I am now, because he said that. And then I just started, and after about 3 or 4 months, that's how I remember it at least. It started working for me, and I didn't blow out my voice anymore. I only did it for a few weeks at the beginning, and I tuned it and honed in on it and all that. And then it just went on from there. And now I'm in my like fifth band. I think it's the fifth band I've been in. But it's like with relationships, you don't always find your soulmate from the get-go. I was pretty young back then as well. So, but that's literally how it happened, because of that guy. He said that.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear you got encouraged. A lot of people get discouraged early on, whatever it is they do, not just music, but they get discouraged by somebody, and then it's like, well, okay, I guess I can't do this, or they're right, or you start questioning yourself. But it's cool that that positive experience early on, especially the idea like, well, you can learn to do the thing. Like, not only can you do anything, but you can learn to do it. That's so cool. Such a good
Really.
spirit that person has.
Oh, for sure. And I even write him sometimes, like, not like super often, because that would be a little strange maybe, but I write him every once in a while, like, "Dude, do you remember that time?" And yes, he does remember and everything. And I don't think he plays music anymore though, but I think he's become like, he's a dad now or something, but all power to him. But it's just insane to think about that, because that's all it took. That's all it took. Somebody just said, "Yeah, you can learn it though. Just come on." Like, believing in a guy that they barely knew. Just come on, come into our rehearsal space. That's what anybody needs, and that's what can make people do great things.
Some people are just positive and putting that good positive energy out into the world, and other people are like, nah. That's what the internet does. That's what social media does. Like, nah, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
the naysayers. Yeah, it's a lot of
Naysayers.
naysayers. Yeah.
You know what we got to say to those naysayers?
Yeah.
Forget them. You got to do your thing. So I know you said you worked on this music written before the pandemic, and then obviously some of it was changed during the recording, or because of it, your lyrics and maybe some concepts and things. But generally speaking, how do you guys compose as a band? I find the songs are so fully, so full and well, thought out and well composed. And I wonder, do you bring in a song and say, here's a song, play it? Do you guys jam together and write like that? How do you guys work together as a group?
The way we do it is Nicklas, the guitarist. He's like the main songwriter guy. He's the riff meister. He does his riffs and all that, and sometimes he programs some basic drums to them, just to have something, so we have something to listen to. And then Sebastian, the drummer, him and Nicklas, they go into the rehearsal space and they lash it out and make it more coherent with the drums and all that. And then Nicklas and I sit down with the lyrics that I have written, like, not in adjacent to the music, but just out of the blue, whatever I was feeling that day and listening to that day or watching that day, just write lyrics, and then we make it fit. And so it's basically that way. We don't really jam that much, actually. We're very meticulous and very like computer oriented in that way. And we make the songs, we called it studio ready. Because we always feel like you can only go so far in the rehearsal space, and a lot of stuff happens in the studio because you get to hear it with real good instruments and amplifiers and speakers, and you get to hear it all, and new things just pop up when you listen to it again and again and again. So that's like the final touch, is definitely the studio. A song is never done before you go into the studio, I feel like. Not in our case. But that's how we do it, at least.
I feel like every band has that one person, whether it's the main riff writer or not, that always has like, oh, I had this riff around. I had some riffs laying around. We finished the record. I still have riffs. they always have riffs, you know. It's like that one friend that always has weed.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like their currency. They have riffs. Maybe they don't have money for gas, but they have riffs every day.
Oh
And
yeah.
some
Well,
people are like that. I'm sure maybe for you it's like that. If you worked on melodies every day, you probably could come up with a new one every day, or a heavy part or a lyric. And I think it's the same thing. A lot of people just put their hands to an instrument and they start making something.
we don't make a lot of money off this at all. So we're rich in riffs and melodies, but poor in currency, money.
I hear you. Well, that's
We
the
do.
industry, you know, where we are
Yeah,
today, where it's a constant,
yeah,
you know, uphill climb. You guys have been more and more successful, which I love seeing.
for sure.
Obviously, you know, there's only a small percentage of people who are, you know, financially secure in this, and even the labels and the festivals. You know, I'm fearing a lot of like small venues and festivals are going to go out of business, you know, under
Yeah,
the circumstances of the last period of time. So and even journalists and websites, I wonder if some of us are going to lose our way during this, or if, you know, I doubled down. I was like, whatever we've been doing that's worked, let's do more and
yeah,
work harder. And I've still been, you know, fortunate to keep working this whole time also. But, you know, it's a struggle. There's definitely some people who are, you know, across the board in music who are burned out and falling off a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like if it's not a thing you
yeah,
can sustain anymore, then, you know, by all means, take a break and be good to yourself.
yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's I always go by the. It's from I remember this movie that came out some years ago. You know, the guys from The Lonely Island.
Yes, I love
You know
them.
those two. Yeah, me too, me too. They made the movie called Pop Star.
Yes,
Never stop, never stopping.
yes.
That became my mantra after that. Never stop, never stopping. Huh? Of course, it's a little silly, but in the end, that short sentence actually makes sense. Just the same thing with like during this whole pandemic thing. Like every week, even if the band could not rehearse because actually Nicklas had the corona and Sebastian had corona as well. So they have both have jobs where they're in close contact with, in one case, children, and the other with elderly. So you know, they had to like isolate for some times, and we had like a span of like 3 months where we didn't rehearse together. But even in those 3 months, I was still there the 2 days a week that we normally rehearse. You know, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I was still there for 3 or 4 hours. Even if they weren't there, I was there for 3 or 4 hours by myself, just rehearsing and trying new things, new techniques, and all this stuff, whatever I can do. So I never stopped even during all this, even though it seemed like, when am I ever going to use any of this stuff again? It's been over a year now. Still haven't really used it. Of course, there were the 3 shows with Ginger, but still, I feel like I'm practicing for nothing almost. But it doesn't matter because I still love doing it. And who knows? Well, for sure, one day I will be able to utilize it again. All this practice in it. I have to say, it definitely has worked. It definitely works wonders to not to never stop, never stop.
Thank
Just
you, Lonely
consistency.
Island. Thank you,
Yeah,
Lonely
thank you,
Island.
Lolly.
I love that movie. I love that record. I actually think I was listening to it earlier this week. I was listening to Mona Lisa, and I'm so humble. I'm so humble is my, like, I'm humble, but I'm not humble. I think that's like my favorite one from them.
Yeah,
And the video is hilarious too. You know, there's a theory that says you have to put like 10,000 hours into you if you love something, your craft, whatever it is for you, vocals, you know, for somebody else, guitar. If you love something, you have to put 10,000 hours of practice in before you're like good. Even
yeah,
you know, whatever your talent level is, just to be good, you have to put
yeah.
X number of time. And so I'm sure it's cumulative, and the work you will put in will pay off. You guys have tours booked for later this year, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
And maybe some things will pop up locally, or if some of these European festivals do happen, I'm hopeful some of them will still happen, and you
Mhm.
guys can get out there and play some more shows.
I really hope so. Yeah, it seems like it's starting to go a little better here, and with the vaccines and all that stuff as well. But yeah, it's I just really want it to be like the old days with the sweat and the the beer stench in your on your clothing and all that.
I never
So yeah,
thought I would miss those terrible bathrooms and even the porta potties at the festivals. I in my life was like, this is horrible. I miss
yeah.
that shit so much right now.
I mean, I really do. I miss being in playing in Italy and there was no toilet seat on the toilets. it's the best. I kind of miss it.
They go hard in Italy. All right. In the world, in the history of metal, a lot of attention in Europe always goes to Sweden, always goes to Norway, always goes to Finland. But Denmark, I feel like, first of all, has some legendary bands. Then back in the day, obviously, everybody knows Lars Ulrich emigrated to America from Denmark, and King Diamond is Danish, right? Even though he lives in America, we stole those guys. Sorry, but there are some great bands, not just you guys. Maul is a great up and coming band across a lot of different genres. So even though Denmark is very small, there is seems like a deep passion for heavy music, and I wanted to ask you, why do you think that Denmark is such a great place for some heavy bands? And maybe there are some bands we don't know about you can let us in on.
Like with anything, like with in the US, the fact that there's 320 million people, there's marginally more great metal bands for sure. Like for example, but when you tone it down to, you take it down to 5.5 million, there's gonna be way less people, first of all, and way less people doing niche type music. You know what I mean? So, but there is, well, actually, to be really Danish right now, it's actually pronounced møl, the mole.
Oh, thank you. I say every band name wrong. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, whatever. It's because it's a Danish word, so I mean, you're excused, of course. It means moth in Danish. That's what it means. Yeah, there's a great band called Cabal as well. They're the guy who plays guitar in that band. He's the guy who's engineered our 3 latest albums, like Comatose, Apple of Discord, and Blind World. He's the one who's tracked and engineered all that. And his band Cabal is like, if you like some super heavy, atmospheric, blackened deathcore, death metal, gent, whatever it is, go check them out for sure. I mean, there's not really that many on my radar, I have to admit. There's the legends, of course, and all that. There's like you say, King Diamond, which is funny because Nicklas, our guitarist, his dad, he went to school with him. It's pretty funny. Yeah, Denmark is so small. And good old Lars Ulrich, who, when he's in Denmark, lives about 5 kilometers from where I am right now. But yeah, Møl is great as well. Great dudes, especially Kim, the singer. He's done some. He's a photographer as well. He's done some photo shoots and some live footage for us as well. And there's a band called Cold Night for Alligators, like some super technical metal stuff as well. Go check them out if you're into that stuff. And yeah, I mean, I feel like, I mean, Denmark is so small. It's just there's just not that much breeding ground for metal here. And all respect to all my Danish brethren and all this, but we need some more enthusiasm, and we need some more, like, people are just too well off in Denmark. I feel like in many cases, they're like, you know what I mean? They're sitting too well in their nice apartment, in their nice house or whatever. They don't dare to go and give it all and spend a shitload of money on music, which results in there's a bunch of half-assed, super mediocre, crappy metal bands in Denmark. There's a bunch of those. I guess there's bands like that all over the place. But other than that, as a country, as a whole, Denmark is great. I mean, yeah, we have universal healthcare. Some people will call that communist, socialist, whatever. But I mean, it's not the best healthcare in the world, but at least it is free, though. You can get it for free. But you do have to wait in line for a lot of stuff. So.
Sounds like a basic human right to me, and all good. We need that here. Health insurance is a scam, and making people stay sick and not get them well to make more money is horrible. But funny and appreciative to hear you talk so frankly about your homeland. And yeah, man, get it together, my Danes. Let's go. Get it together.
Just being honest there.
Yeah, no, it's what we want here. Thank you so much. Comatose is the new record from Ghost Iris, coming out May 7th from Long Branch Records. Jesper, it's been awesome to catch up with you and get to hang out with you. Thank you for spending some time with Ghost Cult. Please stay safe and well. And I sincerely hope we see you on stage as soon as possible, because that's where you guys need to be.
I hope I see you in the US.